Evening, guys. Warm welcome to the XAT decision making workshop. Hope you've had a good day today. We've got about 26 of you out here. I can see a few regular names. Vanya is here, Manu is here, so we've got a few of my friends here. Great. A very warm welcome to you guys. I believe the IFT results are out. Uh, any one of you has cracked the exam? So you can check your results side by side. I believe the IFT results are out. So you should check your results. Okay guys, we've got a very simple agenda for today. We'll be discussing decision making. So our agenda for today is that decision making. Decision making is a peculiar topic. It makes its appearance only in the XAT exam. It's not there in any other exam, and it's an interesting question type. How many of you have solved decision making questions? Those of you who've solved decision making questions, just type in Y. Those of you who've never solved a decision making question, type in N. Okay, that's surprisingly that those are a number. The number of no's is quite high. I thought most of you would have solved some of these questions previously. No issues. Please go ahead with it anyways. Decision making is a peculiar beast, a peculiar question type. Wherein I can divide the whole XAT section into areas. The kind of paper that we've had, we can divide it into areas. Now, which are these broad areas in which the question can be divided? Type 1 of questions, these are based on more on verbal reasoning. These questions, what would they involve? They would involve providing you a situation. These are situation based questions. What would they do? Now, in terms of variety, what they can offer you is they'll either give you a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs, or they might give you a complete case, which would mean it would be around 500-600 words, almost equivalent to the length of an RC. So they might put the question in these formats across to you, and from that given question that is there, from the given context of the situation that is there, they would then ask you to make particular decisions. So that is what they do. What kind of contexts make appearance in these situations? Majority of these are business contexts, business problems that we face. So we are going to discuss these problems today. That is what we'll try to do during the course of this workshop, and that is our primary objective, discussing these different kinds of questions. The second type of problem that you get, specifically it was there in last year's paper, is they would merge some data interpretation questions in this section. So you might get a set or two of data interpretation questions cleverly concealed in decision making. So that might happen in this particular question type. So there are chances of that happening as well. These are the different broad categories of questions that make an appearance. How do we go about this workshop? What we'll do is we'll discuss a few questions, we'll discuss a few answers, and I'll give you the broad parameters of solving these questions. So that is what we are going to do. Before we do that, let me just give you a hypothetical scenario. I just want to get an idea what kind of thought process do you guys have. So I'm providing you an hypothetical scenario. Fair enough, guys? Have you heard the ongoing crisis with SpiceJet? The ongoing crisis with SpiceJet. Awesome, brilliant. All of you have heard about it. SpiceJet is cancelling a lot of flights. In the last couple of days, there has been a news that the government of India might be giving it a package. So something like in the tune of 1500 crores, they are arranging a bank loan for SpiceJet. So that is the context which has been provided to you. Okay. So can I say it's a cash strapped organization at the present moment? The business is in trouble. The business is wobbling. So now you are in SpiceJet's position right now. Okay. What would you do right now to solve the SpiceJet crisis? Answers, quick answers. How do you resolve the SpiceJet crisis? Form a committee to formulate solutions. I want a solution. Take a bank loan. Now, ask for more time for funding. Public issue, Ankit, a public issue would be extremely disastrous at this point of time. Nobody is going to invest in SpiceJet. Efficient management won't solve my problem today. How would I convince investors to invest? How would I do that? How would I raise private equity? Mine is a loss-making business. Who can summarize the problem in one? What is the problem that SpiceJet faces right now? Guys, we have to talk in terms of business languages. So what is the problem SpiceJet has? SpiceJet, the problem right now is it just does not have sufficient funds to run. It does not have the money to run. So for example, it takes a 1500 crore loan. The government gets it approved. What is going to happen then? It takes the loan, it tries to re-establish some of its lost reputation. Would it solve the purpose, overall purpose? Would it guarantee that SpiceJet recovers, or should it do more right now at this stage? It has to do more, otherwise the company won't survive. So now the first step that we've got is obviously we've got to get money. We've got to throw in money into the picture. So that money is thrown in, there is a loan which SpiceJet might get, which government is brokering for it. What are the conditions that you would keep now if you are to provide the loan to SpiceJet? Why would anyone give SpiceJet money in the given case? Security, creditworthiness, returns, those are things that SpiceJet cannot offer right now. Remember, the company is wobbling, it is not generating enough money. Ask for a proper roadmap, assurance. Manya, I give you assurance, I am a very creditworthy person. Will you give me 1500 crores? No, you won't. Can't happen that ways. Shalu, that hurts, huh? No ways. I'm not that bad also. Guys, what I'll have to do is, the first thing that I will have to do in this particular case is, I would have to have a tangible plan which I'll be able to present to the people that I'm taking the loan from. So what might I have to do in the given case if I am SpiceJet? I might be already leveraged to my maximum capacity, so I might not be able to mortgage more of my assets. But what can I probably show my investors in the given case is, people who would probably invest in me, is I will show them that how I would effect the turnaround. Now, in order to effect the turnaround, what do I need to do primarily? How do I effect the turnaround? How do I effect the turnaround? How does SpiceJet effect the turnaround? It has to bring everything on track. How does it bring everything on track? Shalu, that was just a nonsense comment. You can leave that out of the picture. Proper management, take some effective decisions. Cheap rates might not necessarily help it out. Right now, what I would have to do right away, right at this instant, is probably I'll have to show them that I would cut out the parts, I would remove the flights which are not earning money for me right now. So I will reduce the number of flights that I have right now. The routes that do not give me any profit, they go straight away. I cut them away. I can't do that. One thing that I have to do. The second thing that I've got to do is I might have to implement some cost cutting measures there. I might have to reduce my employee numbers. I might have to make do with a lesser number of employees. I might have to reduce my overhead expenditure. I would have to give all these aspects. I will have to present all these aspects to the investors. It is only then that I would get the money. Now, under the given situation, I have to explain it to my flight, that I have to explain it to my staff, my employees, that see, you have two options. Either we reduce these expenses or we let go of the company. You can't do that. Fair enough, right? So what they've got to do is they've got to A, reduce their expenses, B, pick out the most important destinations, fly to only those destinations, and try to increase their revenue that way. So that is what SpiceJet has got to do in the given context. That is the only way out for it to wriggle out of the given situation. So that is what it will have to do. Now, what do we need to think in the given case? Why am I giving you this example? I'm giving you this example. Yes, Shalu, that can also come into the picture. I'm giving you this example only to explain one important aspect to you guys. You have to look at every aspect in the problem. It cannot be a single aspect. So for example, in order to solve SpiceJet's problem, one of the things that I have to consider, which I might not have considered earlier, is the fact that I have to reduce my expenses. As soon as I start talking about reducing my expenses, I need to talk about what happens to my employees. I need to reduce my expense on my employees as well. So all of a sudden my employees, the number of employees that I have and the amount of money I'm spending upon them becomes a questionable quantity when I'm talking about my revival. So something that I've got to think about. So decision making, one super important thing is you've got to look at the problem from multiple aspects. Multiple aspects. It cannot be from a single aspect. I'll give you guys another example. This time I'll provide you the whole context and you guys have to think about the problem. Fair enough? Second context for you guys. How many of you are from Chandigarh? How many of you are from Chandigarh? Ankit is from Chandigarh. Rupesh is from Chandigarh. Okay. So anyways, it's not that city specific. For example, we talk about a city, Chandigarh. In Chandigarh, what they've decided is that they are going to remove all slums. So there is this particular slum that the local administration wants to remove. They want to get rid of the slum. 5 years back, they came out with a policy. They carried out a census and they marked all the slum dwellers. They allocated some numbers to them and now they've created alternate housing for them and they've decided to get rid of those slums. The thing is, the houses that have been built according to the population of the slum 5 years back. So those are the ones, those are the registered residents of the slum and they are the ones that are getting the benefit. Now a number of new people have also come into the slum. It's the time of winters. If the slum is broken, then those people would go on the street. They would then have to live on the street. It's extreme winters. What should the administration do in the given case? But keep in mind that they have built new houses as well. So the new houses are ready to be occupied for those new slum dwellers. And the piece of land that has to be emptied, that had to be cleared out, that is been earmarked for another project. That is where the central hub of the metro is going to be built for the city. So that land is also urgently required by the administration. What would the administration do in the given case? What should it do? It should throw out everyone out of the slum. It should let the slum continue to exist. What should it do? It should create an alternate mechanism for the slum dwellers. What is your call? What would you do? Create alternate mechanism, should create a new place. Now, guys, I'll provide you a small check here. Now, let's suppose, as Ankit says, we have another census and we make another report, and then we start to again issue those houses. Is it feasible? Can I create that another report? Can I create another census? Not possible. The cycle would never end. Ural, I'll just repeat the problem. For those of you who could not listen to the problem, I would repeat the problem again quickly. In Chandigarh, a piece of land has to be cleared. There is a slum there. The administration wants to remove that slum. The administration carried out a census 5 years back. In that, they marked all the people who were living in that slum. Now they've got, that stage has come where alternate flats have been built for those slum dwellers, and that place has to be vacated. A metro station has to come up on that piece of land. What should the administration do, considering that winters are currently on and a number of new residents have come into the slum in the last 5 years? So what should the administration do in this case? Should it remove them? Should it let the slum exist, wait for the summers? Should it give them alternate housing? Should it give new housing to these people as well? Or should it only give them temporary housing? What should the administration do? So guys, quickly, I've just adjust them with other people. Not possible. Those are small houses already. How can you wait till summers? Again, the problem is, guys, in this particular case, can I change the question here a little? This question remains the same. I will just ask you one small little opinion. According to you, who's the one who should be blamed in the given case? The slum dwellers or the administration? Interestingly, this is what I thought you guys would say. And this is the point that I wanted to make in this particular case. Guys, one very, very important thing. Do not let your personal opinions seep into these questions. No personal opinions. You should not do that. Okay? In the given case, the administration is actually not wrong, because they came up with a census 5 years back. They marked the people and they are giving them alternate housing. The problem is, people have still, they've continued to enter those slums, and as soon as you enter those slums, you do so at your own risk. This is not the government's fault here, that you are moving into an area which is already been, the government has already taken action on that. So in this particular case, you cannot say that the administration is at fault here. Now what needs to be done in the given case is, actually both the parties are not at fault. No one is at fault here. So you cannot call the slum dwellers bad, or you cannot call the administration bad. Neither of them is bad actually in the given case. The only way out in the given case is that what it should do is, the people who've been marked or who've been allocated homes, allotted homes, they should go to their allotted homes. The land should be cleared, and the people who came in fresh in the last 5 years, who are not there in the list, can only be provided temporary shelter till the time they can take care of themselves. So that is the only human way for the government to get out of this situation. Guys, can you hear me? Things that you cannot do in this question, Srishti, they can provide labor. See, that's an idealistic solution, not a practical one. We are searching for practical solutions. So in the given case, they can provide labor or they might not provide labor. That does not impact them whether they have housing or not. So the key is that they need to be given housing. They need to be provided temporary housing. Yes, Ankit, the situation would be the same after 5 years. That is why the question specifically states only temporary housing, not permanent housing. Permanent housing cannot be given to these people. It is temporary only for a certain period of time. So that is till then you give them temporary housing, then you have to ask them to leave from that situation. So that is what that has to happen in the given case. Realistically speaking, guys, I'll change the question again, and you guys are going to kill me, I know, for this. I keep changing the goalpost. What do you think would happen in the real world out there? Imagine this situation actually happens. This happened last year in Chandigarh. What do you think would actually happen? Dharna. What else? Guys. An impasse, outrage, project postponed, protests. Anything else, guys? Politics. Practically, in all probability, if the government can, they would actually remove the slum. They would not provide any alternate housing like it happened last year. No alternate housing was given to the slum dwellers. They were removed, they shifted, and another new slum was created. That piece of land was created. They occupied another piece of land till the time they could. And those people who actually got homes, they shifted to their homes. So that is what practically happened in the real world. Technically speaking, I would say these are the middle path questions, the decision making questions that we have. You've got to keep a practical mindset about you. You cannot be completely idealistic in these questions. Yet these are textbook decision making questions. They do not mimic the real world 100%. So guys, you would have to strike a very, very fine, delicate balance when you are solving these questions. A delicate balance has to be struck between these questions. It is only then that you can solve these questions successfully. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly go through the slides that we have. The concept slides that we have. I'm not going to explain every slide right now. I'll shift to the questions. I'll just stop at the relevant points, and then we'll come back to these concept slides at the end of the session where I'll explain the importance of these points with the respective questions. So that is what I'm going to do. Guys, I'm audible. This is a huge problem actually. Some of you are reporting I'm not audible. Fluctuating voice. What I can try to do is I'll speak a little louder. I will speak a little slower so that I can explain myself and you guys are able to hear me. So that is something that I can try. I hope I'm audible to all. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'll just quickly go through the slides. Fair enough. The kind of questions that you get, these can be divided into 2 or 3 categories. You get a lot of ethical dilemmas. So whether you should do this or whether you should do that, whether you should hire people, whether you should fire them, whether you should, these involve questions of ethics. Second are management related issues when a particular employee is not behaving well, he's acting up in a certain way, etc., etc. So those are the kinds of questions. Third is where you have to, financials are involved, where the profit of the organization is involved. Fourth is where you get different parties and you've got to analyze the problem from different people involved in the problem. Guys, remember a couple of fundamental things. Decision making questions would always provide you cases where there are at least 2 sides to a story. There have to be 2 sides to a story for the simple reason there is a problem. Now, as soon as there is a problem, that means that there are 2 sides to it. There are 2 viewpoints. There is a conflict. And when do you need to make a decision? Then you've got to solve that conflict. So surprisingly, by the end of the class, we'll realize that no personal opinions have to be given. These are not based on personal opinions. The contexts might appear to you that they are asking for your opinion, but they are actually not asking you for your personal opinion. They are asking you to be logical, practical, and rational. So they are asking you to adopt a course of action. So there is a huge difference between adopting a course of action and adopting an opinion. So these are questions which ask you for courses of action. So always remember that. So these are the different question types. I will just explain these further with the questions that we encounter. These are the different types of questions. You'll get case-led, single questions based, etc., etc. So we would then just Akarsh, let's do some sample questions and then we can come up with all the doubts. So that way I'll be able to explain the theory as well. Okay, guys, broad points that you got to keep in mind. Do not take extreme viewpoints. So that is something that you've got to do. Always make balanced choices. And one very, very important thing, guys, very, very important thing, please make sure that you keep the benefit of all in mind. Generally what happens is, if it's a government versus citizen thing, we generally think that the government is wrong. Do not think that. If it's an organization versus worker thing, we might think that the organization is wrong. That might not necessarily be the case. Do not assume that certain viewpoints are incorrect. Do not ever do that. No such assumptions. This is all theory that will make more sense once we solve the questions. So just wait for the questions for a few minutes, then you guys can come up with your doubts as well. Guys, I have just skipped 4 or 5 slides for the simple reason that I wanted to get to the questions first. So we quickly solve questions for the next 30 or 40 minutes. We analyze the concepts through these questions and then we'll get back to those slides, 3 or 4 slides that we've skipped. We would use them as a summary of the session, a summary of all the points that we are going to discuss in the next 40 minutes. So right now what do? I take a break for 2 minutes. I would not speak. You guys quickly go through this question. As soon as you've read, just type in yes. I will then shift to the next slide, which has the options. Quickly go through the slide. Guys, shifting to the next slide. The clear answer in this case, option number A. So that is the clear answer. Option number B, reduce the number of female employees as it is a business requirement. She should not let anything affect her business. That is too selfish a viewpoint in this given case. The question clearly mentions that she's got to stick to her viewpoint. Why did she start? Why did she start the company? It's against her fundamentals. Her fundamentals basic concept was, why did she start? Because she wanted equality at the gender place. So if that equality does not exist, it violates her fundamental principles. So you cannot do that. So option number 2 violates the fundamental principle. Option number C does not solve the problem, so cannot be the answer. Option number 5, to be honest, is too harsh an option. It's similar to option number B. Option number 5, she should close the business. I don't need to say anything about it, do I? So we should let that be. So an easy starter for you guys. So I'll shift to the next question now. Guys, this is a small question, just 30 seconds to solve it. Guys, does this require any discussion? Anyone? Great. I'll just shift. Guys, these are previous year XAT questions that we are using for today's session. For the simple reason, these are the best possible guides. I would not, Aditya, we would not choose D. Since this guy, he says that he's a hard-working man. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to adjust him I would try to provide him a job in areas that I can right now. And I will make sure that he improves in other areas. So I would help him do that. So that is what I would do. Option C, option C is, for example, in the given case, I cannot really be sure about it, right? Option C, how do I know that I can hire him for a production or a finance job? There is not sufficient information which is given there. All I know is he cannot speak fluent English. Can he solve finance problems or production jobs? Not given. That information is not given. Option B, the generic answer option, is far better. Shalu, Sadhvi, I will answer all those questions at the end of the session, the generic questions. So we'll have an open Q&A for that. Quickly solve question number 3. Guys, A, B or C? Why is option A ruled out? Why is option A ruled out? See, if I sell the same products at a lower price, I would start generating losses because I can sell those same products at a higher price to someone else. I will lose my rich segment. I cannot do that. Option number B and C are two close options. Sell the similar products of different quality standards with different brand names to middle classes and poor classes. Option number 3, sell its products under different brand names to middle and poor classes. Now, if I start selling them under different brand names without changing their quality, without reducing that quality, if the quality is the same as it was of my product for the rich segment, what would people do? They would start buying the new brand name one. Again, I would lose. So, which is the only option which takes care of both the quality standards as well as providing me products, gives me access to markets which are not available. I will generalize this problem for you guys. I will just put it in a generic manner. What has happened is, I am a company which produces a certain product for a certain segment in the market. For example, you can look at it this way. I am saying, for example, I make watches, I make Swatch watches or Rolex watches. Fair enough. That is a premium segment of watches. What if people stop buying watches in the premium segment? What would Swatch and Rolex do in that case? What is the option Swatch and Rolex have when people don't buy in their premium segment? People have stopped buying in the premium segment. People are not buying a Rolex, which is what for 70,000 a watch. So what should Rolex do in this particular case? What option does Rolex have? Should it sell the same watch for 7,000 that it used to sell for 70,000? Should Rolex do that? That is not an option for Rolex. It cannot do that. So what should it do? It should produce watches which are for 15,000, 10,000, 20,000. They would still have the tag involved that Rolex it's a Rolex backed company. It's a different brand that Rolex has. Yet it would give them sales in a different segment. Remember, the problem is not with the watch, it's with the fact that that segment has stagnated. The premium segment is not buying watches. So what do I need to do when the premium segment does not buy watches? I need to target other segments. So if I generalize the problem, if my target audience is not buying my product, what do? I target other audiences. So this is what I want you guys to do about these questions. I need you to think analytically as well here. So you've got to shift to other audiences, and that is what option number B does. So that is what you've got to do. Fair enough, guys. You understood the basics for this kind of a context. The basics would remain the same if you get a similar question. Quickly solve this question. Guys, I want you to give two answers for this question. The first answer is, what is the answer for the question which is given there? So all of you are saying A. The second question now for you guys is, what would you actually do? What would you actually do in the real world? So now the question has changed. We are living in the real world. Let's suppose I am the software manufacturing company. What do you think I would do in the real world? In the real world, I'll try to do what option number D says. Maybe C for some time, but I'll actually do D. I will keep silent for some time, improve, release a new product and try to get away with it. So that is the first thing that I'll try to do. I'll try to get away from the problem. But since this is textbook decision making, you cannot do that. You cannot have to, let me put it this way, you cannot have a जुगाड़ू solution. ठीक है, जुगाड़ नहीं डाल सकते यार इस केस में. So we've got to remain ethical. So that is a requirement of the question type. That is a requirement of the exam. You've got to maintain the ethics of business. So since the ethics of business have to be maintained, and we've got to keep them in mind, which is the option that best fits? Option number A is the best fit in this case. No, we can't. See, the real world, let's be honest here, the real world would operate very differently for the business problems that have been given in these questions. Some of the decisions that you make would actually match the real world decisions, but all of them would not. In the given case, the question asks, what would be the most ethical option for the company? The most ethical option is option number A in the given case. So apologize and fix up for all the bugs for all the customers, even if he has to incur losses. So that is the option that I would take as the most ethical one in the given case. See, the question does not ask us to provide us an option wherein their losses are minimized. It asks us for an option in which they maintain their ethics. So the question is very, very clear, and the answer for that ethics bit is option number A. So Akarsh, we've got to keep that in mind. Yes, Shrishti, it would, but I'm not sure how many businesses see it that way. In fact, look at the global level. Let's look at the Sony hack case, which has been in news. The first attempt, or the Snapchat hacking which took place, the first attempt of every company is to wash their hands of it and say it did not happen because of us. They don't own up to it. They say it happened because of someone else, or someone else did it. So no one tries to take responsibility. If there is some loss, they want to get their hands off it. So that is the first instinct of most companies, and let's be honest about it. But in the given case, since the question is put that way and it wants us to identify the most ethical option, we do that in the given case. So that is a stipulation of the I apologize for that. That is the stipulation of the question which is given in itself. We have to follow that. Okay, let's think about it. Good question, Akarsh. If it is feasible option, see, option B is not a feasible one because there are losses involved. Option C is again not feasible. Uh, the feasible option then becomes option number D, that they keep silent and introduce a bug-free product at the earliest. Option number E, take the product off the market and apologize to customers, not feasible in that case. That does not happen. Fair enough, guys. We move on to the next question. Sorry, Daman, I did not get that. I did not get the question. I'm just waiting for a doubt, otherwise I'll shift to the next slide. Option A. Option A is the answer, Daman. Guys, this is a longer question. It has a fairly long context. So as soon as you've read this slide, type in a yes, I will shift to the next slide. So quickly read the slide. Guys, shifting to the next slide. Guys, shifting to the first question. Akarsh, I will do it. I will do that. Let's have the answers for this question and then I'll explain the whole paragraph. So in the given case, what has happened is there is an overall context which is provided. There is a particular president who's taken a couple of steps which have been good for the company. He's directly talked to some supervisors, he's rewarded the better performers, he's implemented the process other than the people who are working in the night shift. One of those supervisors tried to meet Mr. Thakur but was not able to do so. Because of that, then he forced himself upon it. He stormed into his office, tried to confront him, and the situation went from bad to worse. Now you've got a confrontation between two people. What is Mr. Thakur's mistake in this? What is his mistake in this? The fact that he did not take out time to meet a particular guy when he should have. So that is his mistake in the whole question. Now, if we look at the question number 5, it says the most important causal factor for the entire episode could be A, trying to find a divide and rule policy. See, this is an opinion that we don't know whether Mr. Thakur is trying to do this or not. So we can't be sure about it. Inconsistent dealings of Mr. Thakur with supervisors, absolutely correct. He met a few supervisors, he did not meet a few other supervisors. What did that do? That created anger in the company. So that was a mistake made by Mr. Thakur, and that is the problem in this particular case. Exactly, absolutely correct, Sadhvi. That is 100% correct. So that is the logic that operates for this particular question. Should I shift to the next question? This is a caselet. So you'll have 2-3 more questions on the same caselet in this given case. This is the interesting question in this passage. The next question that we'll do. This one is the interesting one. So we finally get a question for which there will be some debate. We've got different answers for this question, which is a good thing, right? Which is the first thing? You've got to organize them in a priority order. Which according to you is the most important one? Option 4 or option 3? Option 2 is the most important one. Remember what the question asks you. The question asks you the option that best arranges the above managerial interventions in decreasing order of organizational impact. So the first option, the first choice that you select, either 2 or 4, has to be the most important one, and the last one would be the least important one. Which is the most important one, guys? Now you know the mistake that you've committed. So we are getting, see, the answer changes. 2 is the most important one. Which is the correct answer? Direct answer. So guys, what did you miss out? What did you do? You did not read the question closely. So when you do such a thing, what is the exercise that is highly recommended? Read correctly. More than that, raise your right hand. Take it an arm's length away from yourself. Swing it towards your face and awaken yourself. So that is what you need to do to answer these questions correctly. Guys, should I shift to the next question? I'm finally happy that one of my PJs has made you guys laugh. I crack a lot of horrible ones, so at least one has worked. So I'm proud of that. Now this is a slightly different question where you have to give the most likely premise. See, so there cannot be any right or wrong answer for this question. You've got to pick the most probable one. So which is the most probable answer in this case? Option B is the most probable answer in the given case. Exactly. So option B is the most probable one. Fair enough, guys. Shifting to the next question. All of you have done an awesome job with this one. Any doubts? Awesome. Okay guys, we've got the next question. Quickly read through this. Guys, answer quickly. See, the managers in this case have to find something which makes sure that they do not get any blame. Statement number one, the labor unions owing allegiance to ruling party at the center are not allowing work to progress with their demands for wage hikes that are untenable. Yes, that removes the blame from them. Option number two, the actions of mid-level management are not in line with the objectives laid by the top management. Whose problem is it? It's the top management's problem, yeah. It's a problem created by the officers. They should be able to address it. So in statement number two, the blame remains with the officers. Third, the delays have been due to difficulties in obtaining funds at reasonable rate of interest on account of the recessionary conditions. Again, the officers cannot be blamed for the recession. Fourth, we are not to blame. The government is not doing enough to ensure availability of fuel to the existing plants. So again, it is not the problem of officers. In 1, 3 and 4, the officers cannot be blamed. The labor unions, the funds and the fuel cannot be controlled by the officers in the given case. Fifth, The government had ignored the infrastructure availability like roads, etc., and environmental clearances required for such projects, and therefore set an unrealistic target to begin with, and the revised target is also unrealistic as well. The debatable one, the fifth one. Should it be there or should it not be there? Fifth one. The government has set unrealistic targets. See, it cannot be there because then the officer should have said no to them in the first place. So again, you cannot give this as an excuse that you gave me an unrealistic target. It does not explain the situation. I need to give you reasons, tangible reasons why the work is not happening. Statement number 5 simply says that the target was not realistic, whereas I need to give you an excuse. Why was the target not realistic? I need to give reasons. I need to give proof. That proof is only given by 1, 3 and 4, and that is why the correct answer is option number C in this given case. So 3 reasons that I can give the central government that officers cannot be blamed. Statement number 1, statement number 3 and statement number 4. Statement 2, form is under the ambit of those officers, so they should be able to address that problem. Statement 5 does not apply because then you should have talked at the stage of the target. It is not applicable here. 4 is a little extreme, but in the given case we've got to go by the answer options as well. So in the given case it fits, so that is why the answer is option number C. It is a little, but it kind of leaves the blame aside. So anything that helps the officers escape can be applicable here. So it is giving that escape route, so that is why it is the answer. Guys, next couple of questions quickly. The drill remains the same. Aditya, wait for the options. I will just show you guys the options, then you can pick the answer. I will return to this slide then. Guys, quickly mark the options with you. Have a rough idea. I'm just switching back to the previous slide. Guys, the correct answer for this is option E. That is statement 4 and statement 5. I'll just explain the logic behind this question and then you can come up with your doubts in case you have any. It says which one of the following would be the most appropriate lines of thought for the CEO to adopt in response to the offer of by LMN. The first thing that I analyze in this question is I have to pick two statements for sure. The answer options are built that way, so we do not have that choice. So let's go through 5 and let's analyze the one statement that we are sure about 100%. First statement, once bitten twice shy. There is no simple way, so there's simply no way that I can think of resuming talks with LMN after their unethical behavior. I would spend my time with other companies. Second, the deal may make less business sense this time around. However, if it goes through, I become the CEO of the largest telecom company. So let us try our luck one more time. This is something that I can outrightly reject. It is not given that I want to be the CEO of the largest company. So statement number 2 is something that I reject. So it is thrown out of the window. Third, I will resume talks only if they provide guarantees as to the reimbursement of our expenses incurred in the event of the deal not materializing. Is it that important a point that I have to think about those expenses? Keep this with you, but doesn't really seem that important a point. Fourth, let me not be biased against dealing with LMN if we can secure the deal at a reasonably low price, which means it is going to benefit us, benefiting our shareholders. Let us go ahead with it. So let me ask you this way. There is a bad company out there. I've had a bad experience with a certain company, but it operates in the same scale, in the same space that I do. Or let me change the context. There are two hotels side by side, located side by side. Fair enough, guys. So once before, we tried to merge the two hotels into one and use that space to form one mega hotel. Last time the deal did not go through because one of the owners was not a good guy. So the deal could not go through. This time around, a situation has arisen when the hotel industry is in recession. We are not doing particularly well, and that owner has come up to me again that let's combine forces, let's join forces, and let's see if we can fight this situation. What should I do in this particular case? There are two reactions that I can have. One of those reactions is, let's at least talk with this guy and see if this can benefit me. If it benefits me, fair enough. If he wants to sell his company, then what is the problem if I can derive some benefit in this particularly bad time? So I will think about it. So one of the options becomes option number 4. Fifth, I am not sure if we can raise the money now. In any event, they are the ones facing greater financial problem. So let's not hurry now. We might have an opportunity to buy them at a cheaper price later. Does this make sense? It does make sense again. So these are the two thoughts that I can have. I don't need to rush for it. I can wait for it. If there is a better opportunity, I'll buy it 1 month down the line. So the two probable ones are 4 and 5. But this is a risky question. So if you're doing this in the exam, I will highly recommend you guys to avoid such a question because this is a dicey one. Because this is talking in terms of probability. There is no set logic for this. You might find statement number 2 to be the better one. Some of you might say that I will not talk to this guy. He was a bad guy, so I will never talk to him again. Someone will say, let's wait for it and then we'll deal with him. Someone will say, let's go ahead with the deal. So there are different aspects present. In the priority order, statement 4 comes first, statement 5 comes after that. And then you can think about Probably the other aspect is that I'm not going to deal with the situation itself, which is given by statement 1. So these are the different things, parameters that you keep in mind. But this is one of those questions specifically put in to illustrate to you guys that this is something that you should avoid in the examination. It is one of those questions that should be avoided. Fair enough, guys? Should I shift to the next question? The second question for the same context, quickly. This is an easy one. Directly the answer is given in option E. So if I was you in the examination, what would I do? I would solve the easy sitter questions for this context. I will leave the other one. Why take a negative for a question which is dicey in itself? This is an easy one, simple question, easily can be solved without any problem. So that is what I should ideally do. Guys, quickly go through the next caselet. This is the last caselet for today. Quickly read through this. The same drill. As soon as you are done, just type in yes. Guys, should I shift? In the given case, what does CTM need to do? What is it that it needs to portray? A, it needs to make sure that the problem is solved with respect to contract workers. It does not get into a problem with respect to contract workers. Secondly, it needs to expose those people who've been creating problems. So those have to be exposed. Third, it also needs to make sure that the security guards are made answerable. You do not want your workers to feel aggrieved. So you've got to balance the situation. So you've got to take care of each and every problem. Which are the two options which take care of each and every problem in the given case? That is option number D. All options are completely taken care of. Option number 1, stop the current investigations against the contractors after all allegations were based on rumors. There were people who created problems, so we cannot accept statement number 1. Statement 2, continue investigations to expose exploitation and take strong action against troublemakers. I need to take immediate action. I need to solve the problem. Can't wait for it. Statement 5, increase the wages of contract laborers. Not a problem. I need to talk and negotiate with them. Increasing it directly doesn't help. It will mean that the situation would be recreated very, very soon. So can't do that. You can't give in to the demand. You need to communicate and negotiate and reach a settlement. But you cannot avoid it, cannot escape it. That's the golden rule of any confrontation. If you give in to demands, you create problem for yourself in the future. So the best answer in this case is statement number 3 and 4, which means option D. Why not E? Statement number 5. Increase wages doesn't help, Sadhvi. See, the problem is if I increase the wages, every time they're going to do the same thing and I'll have to increase the wages. Can't do that. I have to negotiate first. I cannot directly increase the wages. So in combination with 3, I will adopt 4. 3 and 4 are the two options that I would adopt. I will not adopt option number 5 because 5 actually is contained in our statement number 3 where I'm negotiating. Let's see what comes out of that negotiation. So the management has to be strong as well, and that is what I said at the start of this session. Make sure you analyze the viewpoints of all interested parties. It cannot be the viewpoint of a single party. So the contract laborers are important, my workers are important, but the CTM management is important also. The management's viewpoint cannot be neglected here. It's not that they are 100% wrong or they are the ones who made the mistake. The problem started somewhere else. So you've got to safeguard the management as well. All parties have to be safeguarded. I hope that explains that particular course of action. Quickly go through this question. Option E, it cannot do that. It cannot betray workers. Contract laborers are also workers of a certain kind. So what does CMS have to do? CMMS have to do? It has to adopt a neutral viewpoint. Which is the best neutral viewpoint in this given case? Option number C. It cannot take sides. If it takes sides, it creates problems for itself. What will happen is workers will start fighting with these contract laborers. Can't allow that to happen. So it has to remain neutral and it has to negotiate peace. So how does it do that? It does that with the help of option number C. It takes care of both parties in a fair manner. Last question. Quickly solve this question. See, that would then violate the terms of the formation of the union itself. The union is only for workers, long-term workers. Contract laborers are hired just to make sure that they do not form unions. Shalu, the answer is option number C. Last question. I'll just get back to that, Rahul. I'm just ending this question and then I will explain that. Option E, Shalu, is betraying your fellow workers. Contract laborers are workers of a certain kind. You cannot betray them. See, we do not take unethical stands in decision making questions. Option E is an unethical course of action. Can't do that. No unethical options. Yes. What does the government do? Option D is the long-term solution for the problem, and that is why we pick up option number D. Fair enough, guys. I'll just go back to the initial slides and now just explain those concepts quickly to you guys in the next 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll just do that. For ethical questions, what you've got to do is you should make sure that you do not take extreme viewpoints. You adopt a balanced viewpoint and you take care of the benefit of all parties, like we did in these last questions. Make sure that you've thought about HR issues. So those are also pretty common when employees are hired, etc., etc. The issue is always a central one: employee welfare versus profit. You've got to keep both in mind. Do not adopt one single aspect of the problem. This is the important part of the session now. What will happen in these questions is, for example, something Rahul has also asked. There was a particular question in the last year's paper which featured 3 reports. So there was report 1, report 2, report 3. Those 3 reports totaled to around 1200 words and they were followed by 4 very simple questions. Now the problem in that case is reading that kind of data takes a lot of time. So what I'll recommend for you guys while you are solving these decision making questions, in the last couple of years, XAT primarily has moved on to 1 question and 2 question sets. So try to solve the 1 question and 2 question sets first and leave the caselets for the end. Because time management is very, very important in this section. The biggest problem in decision making, the 2 or 3 common problems that we face. A, time management is screwed up because generally you have a lot of data which is given to you that you have to read. So make sure you are careful about that. Second thing that we do generally is we pass opinions in these questions. There is a certain course of action which appeals to us and we think this is the right way to do it. But remember, the question is not asking for your personal viewpoint. What the question is asking for is what is the logical way out in the given case, and that is something that you've got to stick to. So stick to the logical part, stick to the ethical viewpoints. You've got to keep yourself in practical shoes, practical situations. Try to solve a problem, but do not pass personal opinions or judgments on situations. The moment you do that, you will end up in trouble in these questions. So those are the broad parameters that you keep in mind for this question type. What should you practice for this particular question type? Guys, I really apologize. I've really screwed up the order somehow. What is it that you guys should practice for decision making questions? Guys, decision making started to appear in XAT in 2008, I think. So 2008 to 2013, you should have roughly around 100-120 questions, previous year XAT questions that you should have for the topic. According to me, those are more than sufficient. You do not need to solve more than 100-120 questions for this particular topic. More than sufficient. Solve all those previous year's XAT questions. Spend time on them. Probably redo the ones that you've solved incorrectly. And that is all that is required. Try to understand the general question types that you solve, and you should be able to do it. Sadhvi, no, you won't be able to get a lot of material on it. Agar, give me a minute, just let me recall the last year cutoff. I'm just forgetting it. Just let me recall the cutoff. I'll just check. I think I've written it down somewhere. I'll just check my notes for a second. Just give me a second. No, generally no sectional cutoffs. XAT, last year the cutoff was around 30, I think. 30 was the cutoff last year for XAT. So that was roughly the cutoff for XAT. That is something that you've got to keep in mind. Snap GK is generally is based on current affairs. So you can current affairs and business GK, try to sharpen yourself in those two areas at the present moment. I'm not sure you can do a lot more than that in the next 2 or 3 days. You've got what, a day left. So try to mug up as much current affairs as you can. And that is something that you should do. Praveen, for tough RCs, just practice previous year XAT questions. Don't dig into it. The time for practicing a lot of them is gone. Just try to be very, very sensible and clever in the... yes, Sadhvi, they are more than sufficient. Just try to practice as many RCs as you can for the present moment for XAT. Don't stress yourself out. Guys, one thing, keep in mind, XAT, you've got to do it cleverly. You cannot just dig into the paper and expect to solve every question. The cutoffs are very low. So be clever about the paper and you should be done. Ankit, CAT result date. That is a mystery, right? So even, I don't know, I don't think so the CAT test takers know when the result is going to be out. That is a complete mystery. I'm baffled. The third week is long gone. It's almost dead. So let's hope the IFT results are out today. So today is what? I've forgotten the date. It is 19th. So we've got a couple of days, right, for the third week. So let's keep it in mind. Deepen, if you can solve 13 to 15 questions, good enough for decision making. It's a scoring area. That's why I'm saying 13 to 15. It's on the higher side, but you can do those questions. You can do 13 to 15 and you can do very well in this section. You would have realized it's an easy section. Preferably all Shalu. 80% accuracy, to be honest. See, last year the cutoff was around 30 marks. So plan it accordingly. So 30 to 35 is what you should be targeting in the paper. Sadhvi, if your accuracy is bad, then there is a problem in any case. You can solve as many questions as you want, you'll still be in trouble. So try to be careful. XAT is an accuracy based paper. You've got to be careful in that. Shalu, the last year cutoff was what, 7.5 in quant? So should not be a huge problem. Just try. Guys, try to search for questions in XAT. Just try to search for questions. You will be able to find easy questions concealed. It's a paper where you search for easy questions. You don't solve every question. Decent numbers for DM, 13 to 15, even 12 is fine actually. Yes, some of the questions are of 2 marks. So there might be variable marking. They see that do not predict anything. It can change. The paper can change. Anything can happen. So they've always been weird. They will continue to be weird. It's going to be a challenging paper. So be mentally prepared for that. So you can. Let's hope it's a good paper as they've always built. So we tend to probably again 12 to 14 would be good. I think Akash 25 would be a safe number. Shalu, that is a tough problem to have. Guys, that brings us to an end to today's session. Was lovely chatting up with you guys. We essentially just had a small introduction to what decision making is all about. Hope you had a great time. I had a good time too. Best of luck for the exams. You've got SNAP coming up. You've got XAT coming up. Probably the bestest of luck if there is any such thing. Crack the exams. Be awesome in the exams and फोड़ देना पेपर को, जिसको हम देसी लैंग्वेज में बोलते हैं. एंड super best of luck for your results. I hope you guys do very, very, very well.